Tom Wolfe's New York is a metropolis in deep trouble. In the Bronx, it's street crime, drugs, and a criminal justice system pushed beyond the point of overload. On Wall Street, it's scandals, greed, and corruption. Some people here think they're going broke on $1 million salary. They're the themes of Bonfire of the Vanities, Tom Wolfe's 10th book and a runaway bestseller. It's his first novel. So, has the journalist who gave the world such memorable phrases as the me generation and radical chic abandoned the world of reality for the world of fiction?
In writing this novel, I am a novelist, but I'm also a journalist. And that was one of the important points I wanted to prove, which was that the approach to the novel today should be journalistic. And I wanted this to be a book about New York high and low. So for the high end of the scale, I went down to Wall Street to do reporting. And for the low end, I went to the South Bronx.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
What Wolfe saw on Wall Street was what he calls money fever, an illness that later erupted in headlines about insider trading scandals and a stock market crash. Oliver Stone's film showed the disease on the movie screens. Tom Wolfe was the first to write about it.
These trading rooms are wild. I mean, they are wild. You get off the elevator and you hear this ungodly roar. And so I followed the sound and I reached this enormous room. And here are 200 to 300 young men from the best American universities, sweating profusely at 8:30 in the morning with half moons under their armpits, gesturing like maniacs, swearing in a language, I think it was Army Creole, which isn't much different from what people say in the detention pens in the Bronx. And this was the sound of young white men baying for money on the bond market. And I realized that I had landed in the midst of the money fever of the 1980s.
Wolfe's central character, broker Sherman McCoy, lives on Park Avenue in a $2.5 million apartment. He has everything money can buy: cars, clothes, antique furniture, a country retreat, even a mistress. Disaster sets in when Sherman takes the wrong turn after picking up his mistress Maria at Kennedy Airport. Instead of heading for Park Avenue, they take the turn off to the South Bronx, a New York black ghetto which at night can inspire terror in Park Avenue residents. Sherman and Maria lose their way, and in their panic, they run over and fatally injure a young black man. Sherman goes on trial for that crime here in the Bronx County Court. Wolfe's description of the Park Avenue millionaire being led into the cells underneath the courthouse is terrifying, an indelible glimpse of a subterranean nightmare.
The way Tom Wolfe tells the story, the Bronx DA is always on the lookout for a case to prove that justice is blind, that the law treats the white and the rich the same way as it treats the black and the poor. And in this neighborhood, that's essential for political survival.
Do you think that's the nub of the problem? Do you think that the fact that these guys have to, in a sense, play politics causes a lot of the problems that we see in Bonfire?
Yes, I think it does. This has been steadily magnified over the last 30, 40 years, partly because of the introduction of television, which adds another layer to the publicity concerns of these people. So they can, most of the district attorneys never go near a courtroom in our cities now. They spend the whole day really dealing with publicity.
The 12 handcuffed teenagers were silent as they were led to court.
Somehow, Wolfe's themes have become primetime news. The Howard Beach case, a New York gang murder of blacks by whites, was a trial fueled by racial politics.
But now they believe the white youths chased him to the edge of the road and into the path of the car.
She said she'd been abducted and sexually assaulted for 4 days by 6 white men, including one she said had law enforcement credentials.
The Tawana Brawley case, now being played out, is another story of lawyers and politicians eclipsing the victim.
We are not going to let this girl be the scapegoat of a corrupt system.
The Reverend Al Sharpton is a real-life New York black activist. His similarity to Tom Wolfe's Reverend Reginald Bacon would probably be libelous under Australian laws. This is a book without heroes.
I can't help but think back to Thackeray's Vanity Fair, which is my original inspiration for this book. The subtitle of Vanity Fair is A Novel Without a Hero. And the same could be the subtitle of The Bonfire and the Vanities. And why? Because I think that is the nature of the metropolis. In these large cities in the U.S., and I dare say anywhere in the world, but I know about the U.S., you look around and you don't see lots of heroes, lots of giants of principle who are the movers and shakers. It's just not so. And I think there's a reason for that. It's not that this age is any more corrupt than any other, but there is such a money fever in the U.S. right now, and it hasn't over yet, even despite the crash of October 19th. There's such a money fever that it infects everybody.
So, what happened to the capital of Western civilization as we know it? Has the Big Apple fallen victim to terminal greed? If New York is as bad as Tom Wolfe paints it, why would anyone want to live here?
New York is the city of ambition, and there's no other reason to be here. If you're not ambitious, it's not a place to live. You know, the quality of life here is about zero. Maybe it's minus something. The scenery is awful. I've got 3 trees in the backyard. I'm so proud of them. 3 little trees. One, oh, isn't that great? I've got 3 little trees. That's the kind of things you hang on to. This is an ugly city. The air is so bad that on the morning radio shows, they no longer rate it.
WMZQ, well, the pollen count today.
Which might explain why Tom Wolfe wants to set his next book in the San Francisco area. It will be another novel, and he plans to look closely at the lifestyle of new Asian settlers in America.
I will do another novel. My original intention was just to do this one, to prove to myself and I hope to the rest of the world, if they cared, that I could do it. And then I was going to return to my first and truest love, which is nonfiction journalism. But I must say that after everything that's happened with this book, the temptation is now too great. And I will do another novel. It will be done the same way, with the same kind of reporting. Right now I'm leaning towards doing one in the San Francisco area, not just San Francisco itself, but some of the new towns that exist outside of San Francisco also. That's this week's thought anyhow.